We're talking about Photoshop today. If you are looking for
Yes.
Photoshop basics, you search for Photoshop 101, you've come to the right place. The first thing that I want to show you is the Paint Bucket tool. So the Paint Bucket tool is right over here. And if we click on this, all that it's going to do is think about you're dropping in a paint bucket. You're spilling a paint bucket on the canvas and it will fill an entire space with that color. So down here you can see your fill color is on the front, stroke color is on the back, and we have filled with that gorgeous green. Something else you can do in Photoshop is you can use selections. I'm going to select right here the Elliptical Marquee tool. And the way to get to tools, if yours is the rectangle, you can click and hold and then go to the Elliptical Marquee tool. And what that's going to do is as I click and drag, it's going to stretch out an elliptical marquee. And the marquee, we like to talk about it as marching ants. Everything inside the marching ants is what is selected and is like the area that we will be working on. On the outside, you can see the crosshairs. On the inside, you see a little white arrow. The white arrow means that that's your selection. If you, back in school, ever used a transparency, it's like a see-through piece of cellophane and you would draw on it, and if you layered them on top of each other, you could kind of build and make more things. That's how I think of Photoshop, is each layer is contributing to something. So I'm going to Control Z and undo a bunch of stuff. So we have our selection here. Great. See that little plus? So we're going to click on that plus and watch what happens. It makes a new layer right here. And Nick, what do those little checkerboards mean?
That's your transparency. So basically, it's telling you right now that is a completely empty layer, and it's transparent. Don't forget.
Absolutely. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the Paint Bucket tool one more time, and we're going to click into our selection now and watch what happens. We have our own layer, and when I grab the selection tool and try to move it, it is going to move only that layer. And you can see that those little checkboxes are happening on the edges. That means that it is transparent, which you can't see right here, right? Looks pretty good. Last thing that I want to show you in the 101 of kind of creating a marketing material is adding type. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on T, which is our type tool right here. And I'm just going to click anywhere on our canvas and it will make a new type layer for us. So I'll click right here.
Automatically.
Boom.
There it is.
And you'll see it's really, really tiny right now. So you can change the size up here by just clicking and dragging down. So let's do 60. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to type in here, maybe I want to type in our name, which is Mythic Rescue Cafe. Mythic.
Yes.
Rescue Cafe. All right, so it looks really bad right now, but we are going to hit Control A to select all of this type and change the distance between the lines, which would be right here on the right. We've laid out our type right here. I could make this a little bit bigger, or I could hit Control T or go to Edit, Free Transform. And then we can just click and drag this and it will scale it up, right? We're just clicking and dragging the side of that box. And the great thing about Photoshop is it will keep everything proportionate when you start to drag.
So I'm showing here a quick little image of something that I would typically work with. This could be photography from a client. It could be something that we are trying to mock up or just to have a quick rendering of. The first one is object select. And what's neat about this is it's such a quick way to grab one element or something that is here, and Photoshop will know exactly how to break that, select it, and then I can do whatever I want. So say I need to do a duplicate, I need 2 more of these bottles to be added to the actual image here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right over to here to the object select tool here. And you can see it's already kind of figuring things out as you just hover. This is what I definitely need. So for now, I'm going to give this a shot, because when I just lasso the entire piece with that tool, give it a second, and what it's going to do is it's going to actually grab that exactly. You can hit the Q button, and the Q will just put this quick overlay on in case there is. Just notice, you know, we're like white on white here, right? There's not a lot of kind of drastic contrast between the cap and the background of these bottles. So by doing this, I get to see, yeah, I got a pretty good thing there. There might need some touching up in there, but for now, I do like where we're at. So all I'm going to do is with a Command C, I've copied that. Don't forget, we're on one layer right now, but if I do a Command V, what it's done, notice in my layer section, is I've have an isolated version of those two bottles right on top of the other ones. And how I know it's there is I'm just going to grab the move tool and bring this over. And I notice now I have this and I have a duplicate. So
Yes.
if I have this here, by hitting Command T, you get bounding box. And now I can basically transform this into any way. So because I'm thinking this is more maybe in the forefront, I'm just going to make them a little bit bigger and kind of find the right positioning for them. We already saw when we
Ooh.
were in the quick select tool here, the object select, when I hovered over here, go back to this layer,
Is it going to
I'm
pick up the
getting,
tree branches? Oh my gosh.
look at that. Isn't that crazy?
That's
So let's
pretty
just
good.
click on it. That looks great. So I'm going to go here and you can see I've got the marching ants. They're all there ready to go. I hit Command C. That's copying it. Now I have that in the clipboard. And Command V has placed a new one right here. Very simply, layer style gives you all these quick things to actually do. So let's find the right light source. We can move it around. We can actually change the opacity of that. But for sure, I want to change maybe the spread and the size a little bit or soften it. So you notice this is really neat. You can start figuring out which one is actually softening it. The spread will kind of like let it be a little bit more of a blur. And maybe that might be too much of that. But here I'm multiplying. So all that's doing is it's putting a transparent black layer over that slightly pink background. And I think what's neat about that is it adds to the whole idea of the color tone and everything. So I'm going to bring it down to about there and perfect. You can see how it's stacking. And if I double click on that, I get those components again for the drop shadow. So if I do need to tweak it, it is consider it a sub layer. And it's so nice to have that control that I can go back. Do I need to bevel it? Do I need to do any of these other layer styles? It's all available for you to do.